Hello and welcome to another episode of Ascension Talk with Ariella. I am delighted to be with you live again today. And I have got a stunning, beautiful, spiritually hearted, open-hearted, vulnerable woman for you today. An amazing speaker. I have had the honor, and it was a deep honor, of interviewing Elsbeth before. So Elsbeth and we met actually earlier this year, right? It was this year.
A year ago, actually.
Was it a year ago? Okay, time goes by very quickly. Yeah, so Elsbeth and we connected when I interviewed you for my multidimensional love summit, right?
Yeah.
And your interview, it blew me away. I mean, it was literally, and I love interviewing everybody, but you do have your favorites, and you were definitely one of my favorites, which is why I've invited you back. We're on a different topic now, different conduit, but I just loved your vulnerability. I love your heart. And we had a very deep conversation, and the wisdom that Elsbeth has is profound, and I want to share it with my tribe again today. I want to share it with my community. So I'm going to hand over to Elsbeth in a moment. We're going to get into this, but just to frame this. So Elsbeth is an amazing, she's an amazing visionary, and she works particularly in the field of relationships. So herself and her husband Freddy have been working with singles, working with couples, one-to-one and in group situations for many years now. And their thing is really about helping people to find these long-lasting, intimate, truly intimate, and we're going to talk about intimacy and what it really is today, relationships where they can truly flourish, you know, and be in that sacred union. So she's up to a lot of amazing things in the world. She has huge vision, and I believe that she will attain that vision because she definitely has the skills and the heart and the skill set to make it. So Elsbeth is, she helps many people across the world, but it's some real high flyers, some real powerhouses in there. And we were just having a chat before hitting the record button, and we were saying, hey, wouldn't it be great if our world leaders learn to fall in love with themselves, with life, in their partnerships as well? Like, what a different world we'd be living in. So we're going to be talking about different themes today. I've been tuning in beforehand, and I said to Elsbeth, I would really love to talk about sex during this interview, sex and spirituality. Because many of us on this ascension journey, we're going through these big stages on our spiritual evolution path. Everything changes, including our desired body. And keeping sort of track of those changes and understanding those changes is crucial. And of course, the two are very interlinked, our sexuality and our spirituality. So without further ado, Elsbeth, thank you so much for being here. You know that I love you. A very, very warm welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ariella, for this introduction and just for being connected with me. I'm so honored as well. And do you want me to plunge right into it?
Listen, I can hardly hold you back. So yes, please, let's go into it.
Okay, so I actually would like to start with how I came to even being able to speak with you today about sex, the sexual, integrated with the spiritual, with our consciousness self. Now, like over 20 years ago, I was a management consultant, and I had come to the United States to do postgraduate work in my late 20s, and then got my doctorate in education, and then moved into consulting. So that was in the 90s, and I had gotten quite good at the consulting, yet I was miserable at relationship. I was confused. My late husband passed in 1996, and the following years were just very unsettling, and I had this pattern of attracting unavailable men. So there was a lot of despair around ever, having lasting intimacy and love in my life. And I didn't want to leave without it. I mean, leave this planet without it. And so I put myself to work, delved deeply into meditation, and then applied myself to studying Tantra as a discipline. Not just reading books and hanging out with it a little bit. No, really getting immersed. And in the process, a beautiful healing arose, which had to do with me discovering that I had distrusted men. I held a huge distrust towards men. Now, that was not obvious because I was very charming with them. But underneath, there was this like a decision that I had made when I was 18. Men are never there for you when you really need them. And I had great evidence for it. So that continued to stay with me until I cleared the pattern. And I couldn't clear it through my conscious mind because the conscious mind couldn't access what the memory was on the cellular level. And so through the tantric practice, that got all shaken up and cleared and opened up. And so 6 months beyond that healing and clearing, my beloved came into my life, Freddy, and you mentioned him earlier, who is now my husband, my business partner, and the two of us have been teaching for the last 20 years together. And one thing had gotten important to me, which was like, how can we teach the distinctions and practices for creating consciously love and intimacy? Mm-hmm. I was good at falling in love, but not good at sustaining love.
Yeah.
And so that is what I have dedicated my life to. And in the process, this whole question around conscious relationship, became clearer and clearer, both within me as an embodiment and then also as a teacher. And now, more recently, a few months ago, I heard this clear voice. It came out of the blue that said, Elsbeth, it's time for you to become an ambassador to the United Nations. And I thought, what? What? And to this day, I'm really not sure how that is all going to manifest. But a space has opened up that allowed me to put together a proposal for a new relationship model. And in a moment, I will speak more about it. And that this new relationship model includes what I call sexual consciousness. But I want to pause here for a moment and just see if you want me to keep going or
no, thank you. I mean, I was just sort of chuckling to myself because don't you love it when spirit drop a guidance bomb on you like that? You're going to be with the UN and it's like, I totally get those types of guidance bombs, and we don't know how it's going to play out, but we trust that guidance and move forwards. And when we were talking before, I wrote down, and I love this, like, who is Elsbeth? She's a channel for new consciousness in relationships, and I really believe that's true. So let's go deeper. Let's go deeper into what you're talking about. I have lots of questions about sex and sexuality, but I'm sure we will flow and discover together as we move forward.
Yes. So glad that you brought up the channel, because that has been something new for me over the last couple of years when I started moving into that, because I used to be someone who was driving my life, like creating from driving, until I woke up to, there is no need for driving. Just open yourself up, Elsbeth, and receive guidance, and then it flows through you. Now you can imagine, I mean, particularly you, who is so in the world of channeling, that this was really, my body had to catch up, and my mind, it was a shift in mindset. And so that consciousness of, I call it a new relationship consciousness, really then was a further expansion of what I have been doing with couples and singles over the last 20 years, yet taking it further into the space of human relationship, not just beloved relationships. So it plays out in any relationship, no matter if it's intimate, family relation, friendship, business relationship, organizational relationships, and world, country relationships, world leader relationships.
Right.
The same principle. And so what I have found is that it's time to shift our relational model. So we all grew up, and for the many millennia in the past, we all have lived in, and still living in, a hierarchical model of relationship where one is up and the other one is down. And how we can see this is like in organizations, our structures are hierarchical. There's a leader who's at the top, and then there are people at the bottom. There may be a few leaders, and of course, when we want to shift out of a hierarchical model, what's the other model? It's the horizontal model, where we flow. I call it the infinity flow. In the infinity flow, we can locate the yin and the yang. We can also call it the feminine and masculine, but this is not gender-based, and it shows up in genders. Yeah, so it has this both. So this is why I prefer to call it yin and yang, so we are not so preoccupied with, oh, that's just for men or just for women.
Yeah, sure. We have both energies. Yeah.
Right. It's in any relationship.
Yeah.
Between two women, between two men, transgender, bisexual, homosexual, and so forth. Because any relationship has a polarity. And the polarity is the yin and yang polarity. It's just like the outlet in the wall, a minus and a plus, this north and the south pole. It's an energetic dynamic that is based in magnetism. And so we want to cultivate the capacity to be both at certain moments in our yin self, and then can easily switch into or simultaneously be in our yang self. So what do I mean by that? Unlike in that horizontal model, where this world of the one who is at top doesn't need to listen to the one who is at the bottom, because the world at the top is the only reality, and it is the right reality. So I cannot learn from the one who is at the bottom. So just like in the man-woman relationship historically, men were at the top and women at the bottom. Now, we all, both whoever is at the top and whoever is at the bottom, is part of the same consciousness. So like with women, I often wonder, how could it happen that women couldn't vote in the United States until 100 years ago? Where were we? But we need to see it in the context of consciousness. If this is the consciousness, everybody acts and behaves in that consciousness. So the only thing can shift something is shifting consciousness or context. And so the proposal is to shift from a context of hierarchy to a context of horizontal relating, where one is leading at some moment, the other one is following, and then the other one is leading and the first one is following. So you can see that we need to be both capable to lead at certain moments and to follow at certain moments, but we don't get rigid in one positioning.
That's a very profound teaching that you've just shared there. Because a lot of people want to be the leaders, but how many people want to be followers? How many leaders want to be followers? You know?
Right. But Ariella, that comes from that consciousness, like that this is better than this. No, it's actually very confining because that world at the bottom that is so rich cannot contribute to the whole. It's all about wholeness.
Mm-hmm.
Wholeness within, like wholeness within myself, because I can treat myself like that. I can either be judgmental, authoritarian with me, making myself wrong, where that voice of the judgment is at the top, and that little Elsbeth feels awful, insecure, not confident, not listened to.
Mm-hmm.
I do this with myself,
Mm-hmm.
and we all do it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, Elspeth, what would you like right now?
Yeah.
Or listen for what's called for, instead of coming with this voice that may already know or thinks it already knows, but totally misguided.
Yeah.
And that plays out in relationship. Just look at your own life, Ariella, with your beloved.
Mm-hmm.
There may be moments of fighting, and I don't mean physical fighting, but where we are like this because one and the other doesn't feel heard,
Mm-hmm.
like heard with a D, and that, so we both want to get our point across, and we don't have room to listen because perhaps we come from a place of victimization, or he or she is doing it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we truly believe that of our beloved, but our conditioning. So we want to really learn to move in that horizontal infinity flow, again, where one leads at one moment and the other one follows, and then the reverse.
Yeah, that's so profound. I love that teaching and the infinity, the eight as well. Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing all the energy. That's
Yeah. And then everything is centered around the heart center, which is the love center.
Mm-hmm.
So, which has become so important to me, that this is the place everything gets healed from, everything gets created from. There's compassion. And just recently, I got clear that perhaps I'm a love visionary. That is, grounded in our sexual self and connected with our consciousness. So there are these three anchors, fueled by the heart, held by the heart, the love, that is based in our life force energy that is sexual in nature. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Our physical expression
Mm-hmm.
is called into itself through that sexual life force energy.
Mm-hmm.
If we like it or not, if any form of religion may, vilify it or not, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what the mind thinks about that energy, because that energy is phenomenally strong. It brought us into this world.
We have a good question here from it's a dear soul sister of mine, Isa, who is watching this. Isa's saying that she's experiencing that polarity that you've described in the relationship with her sons at the moment. So that's interesting. So she's asking, how do you get to that flow, to that balanced point? How does that actually happen? Great question, Isa.
Yeah. So in becoming more aware of that there is another model available, even that is like, what? Because it hasn't been around for millennia. There's no role model we have. It's a creation of us in this era, in this moment of history. And so one thing is to even open up, to wake up, oh, there's another model.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next step is to cultivate self-mastery, because I cannot live this horizontal model with my beloved or with my clients or, in organizational or affiliate relationships if I'm not embodying it in myself. And of course, it's an ongoing learning. It's not like, oh, I'm, studying it for 4 years or 4 weeks, and then I'm good at it. No, it's an ongoing learning and practicing. And so, and then the relational mastery. But the relational mastery cannot happen without me looking at what am I not seeing? Am I in the balance of my feminine and masculine? Am I conscious around my sexual self, or does my sexual self have me instead of me having it? And having it doesn't mean that I suppress it. No, I'm fully aware and guided just how I guide the breath, and through that my subtle energy throughout the body, throughout my being. I can learn to guide, the sexual impulse or the turn on or the lack of sexual aliveness, however it may show up. So I want to cultivate the horizontal, like listening to myself, also being rigorous with myself, no longer tolerating my victimhood, feeling sorry for myself. And if it's there not to make myself wrong, it's like, oh, Elsbeth, do you want to stay there? Do you want to stay in that deep sadness that has been around from the little one who was an infant, who didn't get the attention from her dad? Do I want to live in that sweetness of that sadness that is so compromising in the end? It's closing my heart and feeling sorry for myself. Or do I want to be alive and feel, at moments I will be hurt, I feel hurt, like pain. I don't feel being gotten. I may not get from another what I saw, what I'm yearning for. But only by opening up and being willing to feel, I then can step out and bring the same to the other when the other in my beloved relationship has these feelings. I can have room for it. I can ask, would you share more with me about how this is for you, instead of feeling responsible for his feelings or not wanting to hear them because they are so uncomfortable. I'm not sure if I'm answering the question here, but I want to emphasize.
I think you're channeling, Elsbeth, actually. Yeah. I think you're answering it very well. Yeah.
So it's the self-work, what I call self-mastery, and that can happen actually in relationship, because there is no better teacher than our beloved.
Oh, absolutely.
And Freddy always says, I'm fine when I'm on the mountaintop meditating or in the woods. I am fine. But have me be around Elsbeth for 5 minutes and the triggers go off.
Yeah.
And the triggers are not caused by the other. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have certain behaviors that may bring about uncomfortable feelings or inadequacies or something up for Freddy, or vice versa. But it's not caused. It falls into environment where there's already a listening for that. And usually that comes from our childhood. And so this is an opportunity for Freddy to look at what's there for him. And then to flatten, to clear, and then come back and even be open to asking, what do you see there, Elsbeth? Or just doing his own work, just out of that trigger. So what's essential in relationship is that we come together and we communicate. We share ourselves. We speak up for ourselves. We don't tolerate. We tell the truth to ourselves and to the other. And that's a daily practice. And the more we do it, the easier it becomes. And the quicker we shift out of this into this. Because when one yields, there is no pushing anymore. And that actually gets the other one into, and that is where the dance, heart to heart.
Yeah. Let's talk about sex. I mean, this thing that can create it can create wars. It can create new life. And by the way, as we are broadcasting this, I believe my brother and his wife are literally giving birth to twins. So, this beautiful new life, right, which is literally being created as we're talking. And there are, many hundreds of thousands of new life as well. So, sex, this powerful, creative, and can be highly destructive force. Let's talk a little bit about this. And I would love to understand your perspective on sexual union within a committed partnership, and also the singles out there who may just want to be exploring their sexuality, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's go really to the basis of that sexual energy. Because sexual energy just is like gravity.
Mm-hmm.
We can fight it. We can say gravity is not there. So just jump out the window and you will have an experience of gravity. Mm-hmm. So in the same way, we can fight it or we can pretend it's not there. That doesn't mean it's not there. Sexual energy is of the same nature. Then the question is, are we as humankind going to continue to engage with that energy like animals? We are on a biological level. We are animals. There's nothing good or bad about it. It's just what is. We have that impulse of the sexual energy that can show up in being horny, excited, or for some people, it's really not feeling anything, not being connected with that energy for whatever reason. So whatever is there for you, if you just want to listen from the place where you are at and see what you make it glean from what I'm sharing here. So we want to become aware of that energy because unlike animals, we have a conscious mind. And in that conscious way of being, we can direct our thoughts, we can direct our energy, be that energy an emotional energy like anger or love. I can embellish love or I can embellish anger. So it's not that we are helpless vis-a-vis these frequencies, but that needs to be practiced and learned. Just as anger is an impulse, I don't think about, do I really want to be angry right now or not? No, it has me in the moment. Mm-hmm. Sexual energy is the same. It's an impulse. Mm-hmm. It's built into us, into our nervous system. Mm-hmm. So how would it be to start guiding that wonderful energy, both in subtle stages like right now, and we may just want to do a little breathing here so that you can understand what I mean. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so everybody just, if you're sitting or standing, if you're driving, don't close your eyes. If you are not driving, you can close your eyes and exhale all air, emptying yourself out. Then take a deep breath in, filling your belly, your chest all the way up into the third eye and the top of your head and beyond. And on the exhalation, visualize sending the breath like trickling water through the channel of your energy centers down and out of the base on into the earth. Let's do this one more time. A deep breath in, filling the belly. Feel how it's rising up into your chest, your third eye, the top of your head and beyond. And on the exhalation, feel the breath like a trickle of water moving down through your whole body and out of the base into the earth. And then continue breathing in your own rhythm and follow that moving up of your energy on the inhale. and the traveling down of the energy, your energetic breath, all the way down into the earth. And then open your eyes. Let me give you a little bell here. How do you feel, Ariella?
Lovely. I loved the trickle. I could feel the trickle going out there. Yeah.
So just as we did this in this, short moment, this is how we are channeling, how we are guiding subtle energy. Because I assume you're not aroused right now, Ariella, are you?
So no, I'm not. But yeah.
Yeah. You may not be far from it if we keep going for a little while. So
I'm aroused by my new chalice. I mean, that's
beautiful. How gorgeous. Wow.
Beautiful. And we all know what chalices are, really,
Yes. So back to guiding.
I had to give a joke there because I felt uncomfortable.
Yes. I mean, and that has some innuendo. The chalice. Yeah.
Thank you for humoring me.
Yes. So the energy guiding the subtle energy. There's a little echo. No. So
my side.
Okay, good. Beautiful. So how I can guide the subtle energy, and energy always goes hand in hand with the breath. Energy cannot flow without breath. When you don't breathe, we die. It's rather obvious. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So we put this to use here, both moving, guiding subtle energy, and then, of course, also aroused energy. So like, when I may see, and you all know I'm in a beloved relationship with Freddy, and when I may see a gorgeous man, being in our workshops or on the street, that doesn't mean that I forgo the pleasant feeling. However, I also don't let that feeling run me over. I can just breathe it up, enjoy it in the moment, and then let it trickle down and out. So I don't get attached to it. That doesn't mean that I don't feel it. We can say the same thing about anger. Doesn't mean that I don't feel the anger. However, am I going to dwell in the anger, get lost in it, destroy my relationship in the process, or am I willing, like self-mastering, where I can step out of it? That is what we want to also cultivate with our sexual self. So then we can use that sexual energy to fuel ourselves, to fuel the body, to embellish the heart, to open the heart further, all supported by that pleasant, wonderful, energy, particularly for men, bringing up their masculine testosterone energy into their heart. That is where they become more integrated within themselves and then can connect more easily with another, no matter if the beloved is a woman or a man. Because again, back to that relationship balance, that magnetism in same-sex couples, the one who is in the masculine starts feeling when they want to connect in their sexual center, the other one who is more in their feminine or yin, and there needs to be one in the masculine and the other in the feminine. The one who is more in their feminine or their yin self feels when they want to connect first in the heart center. So this is why the man who's more in his masculine wants to breathe up this energy into his heart, from where he connects with the partner's heart, with her heart, or if it's a male, with the male's heart. And then when the heart opens over there, the sexual center opens for the yin one. And then we have a circuit. You can see the circuit like this. And that is where coherence, where this magnetism really starts to flourish. And this is where the beauty, the beauty of lovemaking just expands and becomes very satisfying, fulfilling. Now, that doesn't mean that the one who's in the yin couldn't be moving at certain moments then into their yang side. So this is not a cookie cutter approach. This is why we want to be able to receive and to give. That's another skill set in the horizontal model, where I don't stay in the giver role because I'm afraid to receive. Because receiving means letting go, trusting. And if I got abused as a child, guess what? I don't want to be in that place again because it reminds me of helplessness. So whatever is there, that this is being healed, so I can be fully in my receiving role and then in my giving role. And really, like playing the piano, I can play the whole range versus just over here, in the higher ranges. So
is it part of what would you say is a healthy balance for people? Should it be, and is it dependent on who they are, or should we kind of be aiming to be 50-50 in the giving and the receiving, or is that too linear to look at it like that?
Yeah, I'm so glad you bring this up, because we don't want this to be a fixed thing. I gave to you, now you have to give back to me.
Yeah.
So when we work with couples, we suggest that, how you may want to do certain practices, like tantric bodywork practices, where one is the receiver and the other one is the giver. And we actually really dwell in these roles, because when we dwell in them, certain things show up that don't show up when we go back and forth, like in lovemaking, mutual lovemaking, back and forth, and giving and receiving, which is wonderful, not to throw this out with the bathwater. But in that, being in the assigned role for, let's say, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, can you imagine what may be accessed, in either the receiving or the giving role? That then can be an opener, a portal to clearing what may be there from the past that may actually encompass my present relationship, where I'm not fully self-expressed, or in complaint, or I want more, I never get enough, So fulfillment means that I'm totally satisfied. So, like, for example, in my relationship with Freddy, every night when I go to bed, usually Freddy is already in bed, every night he gives me a back rub.
Wow.
I just curl in, and then he rubs my back, like for 10 minutes easily. Wow. And he's just there totally with me. And this is a ritual we do every night. And it's the high point of my day or my evening. I love going to bed.
Yeah.
And he never says, oh, now you have to give to me. Never. It's a certain flow that nurtures our relationship. And in his giving, he gets nurtured. Now, there are other places where I give plentifully. So it may be in a different arena. However, if there's something like, if it was important to him to be given back in that physical way, like in this particular, he likes foot rubs. So I do this at times, but not as steadily as he does it with me, back rub. So I'm sharing this, that it's not like quid pro quo, like you give this to me, then the other one has to give back. And no, we want to be in flow. We want to be listening to what's important to me, what's important to the other, and then we create around that.
Well, I love that how much we're talking about flow, and it really speaks to this community as well. And I know that unfortunately we don't have as much time as we would like to spend talking about, because this is a deep topic, right? I mean, It's very, very profound, and I know that you have something that for this audience that is going to support them with understanding more deeply about this infinity flow that you've been talking, and it's part of your generous offering that you're offering a free gift. Would you mind just sharing that with the people watching and who will watch on the replay as well?
Yes. So I just want to, leading into that, is that I want to bring it all together from shifting out of a vertical into a horizontal relationship model centered in the heart, in love. And again, at any level of relationship, not just in love or relationship, coupled with sexual consciousness. So from my sexual center to my consciousness self. And then I look at it as a holographic dynamic where my yin self interacts with my sexual self, and my yang self interacts with my sexual self, and my yang self interacts with my consciousness self, my yin self, while they all interact in the heart. So it's a coupled with its sexual consciousness, like there is this axis of this that needs to go hand in hand with that. I laid this all out in a very short ebook, actually, where I pull it all together, how to move into this holographic experience of relationship with self and then relationship with another or with others. And it's called, could you say the title? I cannot even remember my own.
It's called the Social Sexual Power of Infinity Flow.
And that's all laid out. And then also on the webpage that goes along with it, it's called humanrelationshipmastery.com, because there are videos where I go further into depth in terms of the model.
The 5 distinctions and practices of human relationship mastery.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm putting the link, for those of you who are watching, I'm putting the link now to Elsbeth's free gift to this beautiful ebook in the comments underneath this live stream. And of course, for those of you who are watching this back on replay, you can either, if you're in my group, then you can look at it in the comments section, or we will also be emailing it to you. And you guys definitely do want to be on the email list for this, because you will receive lots of free gifts via email. So that's gone out. But so that is, and it looks like a beautiful ebook. You say it's fairly short, so it's people are going to be able to get this, right?
Oh, totally. Really, I laid out the steps from the vertical to the horizontal, coupled with sexual consciousness. Because if we don't become sexually more conscious, there is no way for humankind to evolve. And how we know has to do with what was, brought up through the Me Too movement, the brokenness in the relationship between men and women. And unless we do serious work there, I don't mean heavy, but like really committed work around our sexual consciousness, it's not going to happen. Just moving into the infinity flow of the heart-centeredness is not enough. It is essential, the heart-centeredness. However, it needs to be coupled with that axis of the sexual, spiritual, the sexual consciousness.
Elsbeth, I would like to thank you so much for everything that you have shared. Genuinely, I find that your presence, it always moves something, shifts something in me, and brings new insights up to the surface. Your work is profound, and I believe is so much needed on the planet at this time. Yeah, because as I have been listening to you, I've just been seeing this epidemic of, the many problems that we have on the planet at the moment being caused by this hierarchical polarity of the yin and yang that you've been talking about. And I believe this teaching is so needed in all communities at this time. So Thank you. Thank you for everything that you have brought to this show and the insights. And I'm sure, you know, all of the viewers who are watching this, it's very reflective, isn't it? When we're listening to these types of topics. And like you say, we will all be having our own experiences and insights being brought up to the surface for a reason. I love you and your work. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And that's my contribution to Ascension. And thank you for you being the space of Ascension.
Bless your heart. Bless your heart. Thank you so much. Much love. And thank you to everybody who is watching this live and also watching this back on the replay. And I do encourage you to check out Elsbeth's free gift and to go deeper into this really important topic. And Elsbeth's work, it can save relationships, it can change relationships for the better. You know, so I believe that we all need an Elsbeth in our life, reminding us and being a stand for this very, very important aspect of our lives, our intimate connection with ourselves and with others. So thank you, everybody, for listening, and namaste.
Namaste.